wonder if you'd be interested.
Permanent vacation.
A fake. I keep pinching myself.
Little bitty accident.
You're watching the Total TV Network.
You know, Jeremy, we got quite a show today.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about my pet peeve. You know, it really makes my blood boil. I swear I get so frustrated
now
about
come on, just save it, all right? Don't get on your soapbox just yet.
All right. I can bite my tongue for a while. But I guarantee by the end of this show, everyone is going to be talking.
Hi, I'm Polly Butler.
And I'm Jeremy Schwartz.
And today we're going to be talking about an attitude problem that exists most likely in your own school.
Or maybe even your neighborhood, or maybe even your own home. It's called prejudice, and it's usually directed towards people that are different from you.
I get prejudiced too because I'm from New York. And a lot of time my New York accent comes out and they're like, oh, well, she's from New York. She's going to be really rude.
Me and my friends get watched too and stuff because the way we look, because what we dress, like headbangers and stuff.
At my school, I feel people are prejudiced towards me because I'm on the drill team and they're like, I don't know, they think that drill team people get away with everything at school.
I have a hard time going into some stores because the person behind the counter will usually walk with me, behind me, and then when I turn around and look at him, he looks over like he's checking something when I really know that he's following me around because he doesn't trust me because of my color.
I have white friends. If I hang around my white friends, like, black people stereotype me.
We're jocks and Christians, and there's people that didn't like us because of that.
It's just really hard to break the mold that long-haired people use drugs, and it's just not always true.
In order to be popular, you have to be slim and trim.
Like, they'd walk down the hall and they'd be like, oh, I don't like that girl, she doesn't wear Guess jeans.
You're trying to hide that you actually are halfway intelligent. You know, you'll be a dumb blonde just to show that, you know, I don't have to be a nerd. I can be something else, so people will like you.
Anytime you see a Christian, the media portrays them as a freak, a fanatic.
We were going to sit down in the cafeteria or whatever, and they had these two white girls next to us. And it's like me and a whole bunch of my other friends that were black just came in, a whole bunch of black people just come in, and we just sit down. And what did they do? Get up and leave.
And on the last day of school, we had a riot, and to me, it was very frightening, and they were, you know, bashing was going on, white people being, I mean, I had a friend that was picked up and thrown on the ground because she was white.
There was a certain group of fellows which didn't like me for skin color, that sort of thing. They often refer to me as things like Slurpee maker and 7-Eleven owner, and all kinds of things like that.
And then one of them called me nigger, and I was very, very, very mad by then. And so I turned around and go, who called me nigger, you know? And they all pointed to this one little boy.
Boy, nearly everybody's affected by prejudice.
Yeah. We're all stereotyped, you know? We're all lumped together because of our race or our color or creed or beliefs or
and then
money.
they hold that against you, you know? Like you should somehow be punished for who you are.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone keeps saying, well, they did this to me and they did that to them and they said that over there. But see, the thing is, who's they? Who is this they that everyone is talking about?
Sometimes I feel like I kind of feel prejudice against Mexicans.
The football players are just dumb jobs.
I'm very prejudiced against homosexuals because I don't think that's natural at all.
But some black people, they won't even give you a chance. Yes, just because you're white.
Yeah, I see a lot of white people doing crazy, weird stuff and Mexicans, but they just never get caught. Most of white girls I see laugh at stupid things.
Those stupid drama band kids and stuff. I was like, you know, they just go around school all day making jokes.
Oh, well, that hurts. I used to be in drama, you know.
Yeah, and you do have a sense of humor.
Thanks, Polly. You know, I guess I really shouldn't get so upset. I mean, I've had some pretty biased thoughts about people myself.
Well, we all have prejudice-type thoughts. It's just when you voice them out loud, they just sound so ugly.
Well, they sound ugly because they are ugly.
Then why do we do it?
Sometimes I don't feel like white people mean to say things to make you upset. They just don't know. And I don't really get upset about it, but I just think it's just ignorance.
A lot of us don't know really how to break down the barriers. We want to, we just don't know how, and we're kind of afraid to ask the questions for fear we'll be offensive.
I have a friend of mine that's blind. Last year when I started hanging around him, it was really hard for me to be his friend because I was afraid that I would say the wrong thing or I'd do the wrong thing.
But some parents, they teach their little kids, 6, 7-year-olds, black people or Mexicans or just anybody, they're bad or they're not good because of their skin color. Because I've had 6-year-olds, call me nigger.
But you're taught that they're the bad guys. You're always, I don't know about you, but I've always been taught that black people are bad.
My dad's really strict. He won't let black people come over.
What I really hate is a lot of people think just because it's a lighter-skinned black person, they're supposed to be better than the darker skin.
One time I walked in JCPenney's and a little redhead boy said, "Look, Mommy, niggers." I was too shocked to be mad. And then, I was mad at his mother for not slapping him. But, he was too little for me to be mad at him.
This hadn't happened to me, but a lot of times, my dad does it in joking fun. He'll be like, "Man, she is so black. She's blue," They'll be like making fun of, blacker people.
Because I just came to America and I didn't speak their language, and they will make fun of how I look.
Okay, Polly, I'm not exactly sure about this, but I think I've got 3 reasons as to why people are prejudiced.
Okay, I got 4.
Okay.
All right, so let's compare.
Okay, now the first guy said that we do it out of ignorance.
Oh, definitely. So we can be very insensitive at times, but I still don't think ignorance is an excuse. All right. Now, the second reason, in my opinion, is because we're taught.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
We get it from our parents, we get it from our friends,
Everywhere.
television shows, movies, stuff like that.
Definitely. And the third reason, in my opinion, is because it makes us look better.
Okay, now wait, hold 1 second. Now, I didn't makes us look better. How does this make us look better?
Superiority. If our self-image is low, if we make someone else's even lower, we feel better. Think about it. Crazy as it sounds, it makes us feel better about ourselves.
I don't know. That is pretty crazy logic, but I guess you're right. But I think the most important reason is fear. I think fear makes us prejudice.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Just look at AIDS.
If I knew someone who had AIDS, I think I'd be kind of scared because, it's a deadly disease.
I don't know if I had AIDS, how many people I would tell because I'd be afraid that, nobody would pay, everybody would be mean to me.
I wouldn't get next to the person. I'd be nice. If I know the person, I say hello, like that, but you would hang around them,
Yeah. After I found out, the first response was that I thought, well, I shook this person's hand and stuff, and I thought, well, maybe I should, wash my hands with antibacterial soap or something.
And then when I found out that my cousin had AIDS, I was like, I wouldn't get near him, I wouldn't talk to him or anything.
I remember one time when, I'd seen, one person and I was like gonna shake his hand. I was like checking my hand for cuts, I was like, make sure I don't have any cuts on my hand, make sure he doesn't either.
My doctor came into the room and asked me to lie down. That's when he started to cry. And I knew when he started to cry that there was something really wrong with me. And I looked at him and I said, I have AIDS, don't I? And he said, yes.
In 1989, I was working and we had a blood drive, so I donated blood, Nancy nurse. And on March 7th of 1989, they sent me a letter from the blood bank telling me I had tested HIV positive. I had to do some backtracking into my past. What I found out was Joe was from the Chicago area. His high school sweetheart, their senior year, had experimented with IV drugs. We believe that's how this person got infected. This person infected Joe through unprotected sex, probably his senior year in high school or the summer following. Joe in turn infected me in 1985. Teenagers think they're going to live forever. You know, they're not going to grow old, they're not going to get sick, nothing bad's going to happen to them. I was officially, as of 1993, diagnosed with AIDS. My mother cried, which I think is a normal mother reaction. It was, who did this to you? How could this happen to my baby? I'm the youngest, I'm the mother of their only grandchild. They just could not comprehend how this could happen. This was a gay disease. This was from IV drug use. And, well, yes, people who have sex, but you were married. You know, so that was supposed to make it okay. You know, the virus doesn't know if you're married or not. My mother has some fears about what if the neighbors find out. Like I said, they come from a small town. What if the neighbors find out? My mother has a fear of being asked to leave her church or being asked to leave her garden club. You know, I should think churches be the first group out there offering love and compassion, but that hasn't always been the case. In the last year, I started having a problem with nausea and vomiting, you know, being in the middle of a school parking lot, in my car, in the store, at home, and would have to throw up, and there's nothing you could do about that. The fatigue is a big problem, always being tired. This is a terminal illness. There's no cure. You know, it's 100% fatal. Well, my daughter's going to be raised at some point without her mother because of HIV. So that's from my point of view, is if family wants to come into your future, if you want children to get married, then you've got to make some choices now. You've got to make some decisions now.
Okay, I've read all the facts, right, and I've heard all the statistics, but still, AIDS just seems so remote to me until I hear someone like Becky's story.
It's strange, you know, it's like not a day goes by when there isn't something about AIDS in the news. And it's like Becky said, you know, it's 100% fatal. There's no cure.
Well, that's why there's so much prejudice against people with AIDS. Other people are afraid of them, and they're afraid of dying.
Well, before we kick off the show here, why don't we take a couple of minutes to get to know some of the facts about AIDS?
Okay. Well, we've gone to the executive director of the American Institute for Teen AIDS Prevention.
He's spoken to thousands of middle and high school students all across the country, so listen up.
Yeah, Dwayne Crum may just save your life.
There's never been a disease in our lifetime that has had so much stigma attached to it. It's like when I travel around the United States to speak in schools and in various situations, I find I'll sit next to somebody in an airplane and they'll say, "What kind of work do you do?" And my answer is, "Well, I'm an AIDS educator." Well, isn't that nice? People want to avoid any kind of contact with somebody that has anything to do with this disease. And I understand that. This is a fatal disease. It's a frightening thing. We need to understand the truth about this disease, but not be afraid of people that may be infected. It's up to you to understand that every person listening to my voice right now is at risk of infection with this virus. This thing doesn't care how old or young you are, doesn't care whether you're a guy or a girl, it doesn't care what you look like. All it cares is what you do. It's your choice whether you put yourself at risk of infection with this virus or not. You make that decision. But you see, nobody can make a good decision without good information. The fact is, if you do those things that put you at risk, this virus will infect you. And if it does, it'll kill you. That's a promise. The key is knowing how it's transmitted and avoiding those things. And there are really only three. Just three things that you need to know about. If a woman or a girl is pregnant and is infected with this virus, she has about a 25 to 30% chance of giving birth to an infected baby. Those babies born infected with this virus typically die within 2 to 4 years, and they die a very painful death. Second most common way it's spread is blood. Prior to 1985, a lot of people got it through blood transfusions, but in 1985 they developed a test. It's a test that's now used to test all of the blood that's available for transfusion. That's not a big problem anymore. Don't worry about blood transfusions. The issue now is people sharing needles. In most cases, it's people sharing needles to shoot drugs, but the drugs don't transmit the virus. It's the blood that's left on the needle. That's why we have athletes becoming infected from sharing needles to shoot steroids. Kids can become infected from simple things like sharing a needle to pierce each other's ears. That brings us to the most common way this thing is spread, and that's sex. Any kind of sex can spread this virus. The most common way it's spread worldwide is sex between males and females, and it goes efficiently from men to women and from women to men. In fact, among teenagers in the United States, the most common way this virus is spread in your age group is sex between guys and girls. Yeah, it can also be spread through sex between two guys or sex between two girls, but the most common way this virus is spread worldwide, at least 75% of all cases in the world have been transmitted through sex between males and females. And there's a very obvious way to avoid infection. That's just wait for sex. One of the other things a lot of people tell us is a way to avoid infection with this virus is just don't have sex with too many people. And there's some truth with that. Because you see, the more people you have sex with, the greater your risk of becoming infected with this virus. But let's think about it this way. Let's say this is somebody you're thinking about having sex with. Before you, this person had sex with just 2 other people. Before that, each of those with 2, and each of those with 2, and each of those with 2, and so on. All of a sudden, you see, we've got an awful lot of folks up here. And you have to understand that if any one of those gets infected with this virus, that chain of infection can come right down to that person you're thinking about having sex with. And if you go through with it, from that person to you. It doesn't take a lot of partners. It just takes one. It can happen your very first time. The other thing we need to talk about is safe sex. Now, I'm here to tell you, there is safe sex. My wife and I practice safe sex. See, we're married, neither one of us has sex with anybody else, and neither one of us is infected with the virus. That's safe sex, and you can all look forward to safe sex. It's something that's available to everybody if you wait until you get married to have sex, and before you get married, you get tested. The other thing a lot of people call safe sex is condoms. Somebody that's having sex with somebody that might be infected needs to know the truth about condoms, and if you're going to be their friend, you'll learn the truth so that you can tell them. And the truth is this: anybody that's going to have sex with somebody that's infected with this virus or may be infected with the virus needs to use a condom every time and use it correctly, because they work, they're better than nothing, but they also fail. We've known for years that they fail at least 16% of the time in protecting girls from pregnancy. 16%. That's about 1 in 6. Now, if a condom fails in protecting a girl from pregnancy, the result is a new life. Condom fails in protecting you from HIV, the result is death. Let me put it this way. If you found out that 1 in every 6 people that ate at your favorite restaurant died of food poisoning, would you ever go back? I'm not going. I don't care how much fun it is to eat there. I don't care how much I enjoy eating there. My life's worth more than taking a 16% chance of losing it, and so is yours. But the risk of a condom failing and protecting you from HIV is much greater than 16%. A girl can only get pregnant a few days a month when she's fertile. Guys don't get pregnant, but you can get HIV any day of the month. I'm as afraid of this virus as anybody. I've seen people die. But I'm not afraid to be around people with AIDS. And you shouldn't either.
I'm glad Dwayne was able to kind of clear up the air a little bit and replace some of those rumors with facts.
Oh, I think the most impressive thing that Dwayne said is that you can only get AIDS if you give HIV access to your body.
Exactly. So I think it's time to make some sound decisions and take his advice.
Definitely. Now let's get back to the issue of AIDS and prejudice, you know?
Okay.
I mean, I know that many, many families and friendships have been torn apart by this.
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time by myself because I don't know, how people respond to it. I don't know, how comfortable they really feel towards me, even though some people treat me real nice, and I hear things that people say, to other people, and I get information back secondhand.
And I'd walk down the hallway and people would go to the other side. They're like, hey, that guy's, been around those people with AIDS. He's probably got it. He could give it to us.
In the process of my taking care of these little ones that have AIDS, I've brought some of them to my house, and some of them have become very much a part of my life. And because they've become a part of my life, people that normally would come to my home, and when they find out that maybe one of these little ones are at my house, they would choose not to come. And that hurts.
There have been times when waiters have walked away from the tables and not returned back. Waitresses have dropped food. I actually find that I get more, people are scared of me sometimes.
I never really thought that what I did on a Friday night would affect me 10 years down the line. But it did. Something I did on a Friday night changed my whole life. When I go in front of a school, the one thing I always tell them is that for me, the hardest part of growing up was learning the difference between love and sex. Because I thought for the longest time that if I had sex with someone, that would make them love me. And there's a big difference. Sex and love are two totally different things. And it's unfortunate that I had to get HIV to find out what the difference was. I want the kids to understand that it's okay to be human, it's okay to make a mistake, but be responsible for that mistake. If you've made a mistake, admit it and make sure you don't do it again. I have to think about, I'm 29 years old and I have to make sure that all the way I want to get buried is done right. And someone's able to do that, and I shouldn't be thinking about that at 29. I should be thinking about what's the next ladder in the corporate ring I should be, struggling to get up. And that's not something I think about. I have to make sure I get so much sleep, and I have to make sure that I take my vitamins. I have to make sure that I don't put myself under too much stress, because that's all bad. My sister's only called me once since I've been in Texas, and she only called me to ask me who I left my life insurance to. My sister is the bottom line person. And I think that in order to deal with this disease the best way I can, I have to accept my family where it is. Going home if I get sick is not an option. I remember when I first told Dad that I was positive, and he goes, "I don't want you dying here." And I was like, "But this is my home. This is, from 3rd grade on, this is where I grew up. Where else am I going to go?" He goes, "Well, you need to figure that out." And I guess one of the things I have to do on my own is die too.
I know what you're thinking already, Jeremy.
I can't even comprehend how his sister and his dad could treat Robert like that.
I know. I knew it would bother you.
No, it just makes, look, all he really wants is acceptance, right? And if you can't get it from your own family, then who can you get it from?
Well, isn't that what we've been talking about this whole show? I mean, just accepting people just the way they are, you know? Why don't we get some help from our good friend Bill Meyers?
Oh, cool.
Now it's true, There's no doubt about it. There's a lot of prejudice towards people with AIDS. And a lot of that comes from the fact that AIDS is often associated with groups that already face a lot of prejudice. People who shoot drugs, who have a number of sexual partners, and men who have sex with other men. And it's also true the Bible has a lot to say about drug abuse and sex outside of marriage and homosexual behavior. But the Bible says even more about Christian love and compassion. And we're warned about being prejudiced and judgmental. Take, for example, Jesus Christ on his way to Galilee. Now, he stopped at a well in Samaria. And a Samaritan woman came to the well, and Jesus asked her for a drink. She replied, "Yeah, but you're a Jew, and I'm a Samaritan. How can you ask me for a drink when Jews don't even associate with Samaritans?" You see, in those days, Jews and Samaritans hated each other. And Jesus was a Jew, so he was expected to be prejudiced. But Jesus defied the bigotry and responded by offering her hope and eternal life, by offering her the living water. And even though this woman had already been married 5 times and was living with another man, Jesus was non-judgmental. You see, he accepted the Samaritan woman in spite of traditional prejudices, and he accepted her in spite of her behavior. Jesus Christ, through his actions and acceptance, broke down the barriers, and he became an agent for change. And Christ wants you and I to become agents for change. See, we don't have to make generalizations about people based upon their color or their religion or their looks or their behavior. Who are the Samaritans in your life? Is it people with AIDS? White people, black people, Hispanics, the jocks at school, the brainy nerds, the fat people, the skinny people? It doesn't matter. Keep in mind that they are the same people that Christ died for. And that alone gives you and me the freedom and the joy to show compassion, acceptance, and love, just as Jesus Christ did.
And by holding their hand and by wiping away a tear or laughing with them, I'm not going to get this disease.
I knew all the facts by then, and I knew that I couldn't get it by touching them or breathing on them or, even them crying on my shoulder.
I mean, they're just people and they have feelings. So when you insult them or discriminate against them just because they have AIDS, that cuts as deep as any racial slur ever will.
And I think everybody should just, drop with the racial jokes and slurs and color-wise and just, because we're all people and we all need each other.
Well, I feel like if we all fellowship as Christians, things will go fine. We'll stop looking at each other as, well, black, oh, she's white, We'll stop looking at people as a color and just look at the person for who they are inside.
I've definitely learned that just because there's something different about a person, whether it be that they have a deadly disease or that, their eyes are blue, that they're still people and God still created them and God still loves them no matter what they did.
You know what I like about Bill?
What's that?
Well, he feels, really strongly about the same things that I do, and he says a lot of the same things that I want to say, but he's able to do it in a really precise and a really kind of clear, logical fashion.
Well, he's talking about things right now that we should all be talking about.
I totally agree. Well, here's an idea. Why don't we kick back for a little while, and they'll talk, and we'll listen.
Jeremy, we can't listen to them.
Yeah, we can. No, Fast Forward's got this great new technology. See, they have it rigged up through your TV speakers. We can hear everything you're saying.
Oh.
Everything you're saying.
No, we can't, Jeremy.
Yeah,
Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for joining us today.
You best not be getting up there to turn that TV channel. Go ahead and watch the credits. People pay good money for this. Watch the credits.
You've
A
lost
lot
your
of people
mind.
worked on it.
No.
I haven't lost my mind. I've just misplaced it.